welcome to Procurement Pivots, the podcast for procurement professionals wanting to navigate change successfully and create career success on your own terms. I'm Donna Bowden, procurement career coach and founder of Narrate Your Career.
And I'm Laura Sellers, executive coach for procurement and founder of Coaching for Procurement. And between us, we bring almost 25 years of supporting and working with procurement professionals. And it's fair to say we've navigated many of our own career pivots along the way. And now we're here to help you do the same.
Each episode will share practical strategies, honest conversations, and expert insights to help you confidently tackle the changes and challenges in your procurement career.
Let's get started.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode on the Procurement Pivots podcast. Not just any episode today, is it, Laura?
It is not. It is not. We are here for a very special episode because
it is our 50th episode today. Whoop whoop!
Celebration.
We have made it. We've made it. Apparently, according to AI, we are now in the minority of podcasts that actually make it to this level, and we're really excited today. So we've been reflecting on our previous episodes, and we could have just come and spoken to you about how great it is that we're at our 50th episode, but we're not doing that. We wanted to, I guess, share a pattern really that we've seen across a lot of the topics that we've spoken about so far, from the conversations that we're having with procurement, from the work that we're doing with procurement individuals, with groups of procurement, with procurement teams. And this pattern really is around this gap that we're seeing between your performance in procurement and your progression. Like, it feels like, it's a recurring pattern and theme that is coming through. So many people, so many teams, they're feeling like, actually, we're doing the work, we're doing the right things, but it's still not enough. It's still not necessarily getting us the recognition, the visibility, the impact sometimes. So that's the kind of the focus for today. And I think, when we look back at a lot of these topics we've spoken about in previous episodes, so much of the kind of the insight and the topics, it's been topics related to helping you with that progression piece. It's the skills, and the approach and the behavior that is going to help you to get to that next level, whatever that next level may be. It might not be a linear upward next level, but it's wherever, for whatever comes next, wherever you want to get to next. So today, all about really, I suppose looking at performance versus progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And because it's our 50th episode as well, we do have a really exciting piece of news for you at the end of this episode. Once we've talked through this really important topic, we've got a really exciting free invite, and it's part of our celebration of Procurement Pivots reaching its first anniversary, which is in a couple of weeks. So if you need to skip to hear what it is to the end of the episode, feel free, but we will be sharing all of that with you at the end of this episode, so stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great point. So where should we start then, Laura, today?
Well, I think I really like what you were saying around that gap between the performance and the progression, because sometimes, and I'm a huge believer in focusing on the process and not the outcome a lot of the time. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day. Yeah. And I always say this to procurement teams who are building up something from scratch, or even if resetting after a restructure. But I think while that is a really important part, sometimes we get so stuck in there, well, I'm doing the thing, why am I not getting the results? So I think that gap that you mentioned is really important.
Yeah, and we see this such a lot. Like, I think actually, like, so much of the work that we both do individually, with our clients, like, in the main, we're both primarily supporting senior, capable, experienced procurement professionals that are doing a good job, that do have a really good track record. And I think a lot of the time, or certainly some of the time, that by itself, it just right now, with the world that we're in right now, and we've spoken about this a lot, like the world is harder, it's more complex, there's more going on, the pace of change in procurement, like it's evolving at pace, it's pivoting at pace,
Ah,
and I think like, just doing that good job isn't necessarily getting people recognized and seen and understood. Like we're still feels like we're still hearing this same kind of, this same like, narrative, procurement's really misunderstood, procurement's really misunderstood. Like we've been hearing that, I've been hearing that for the last decade. We're still hearing that, aren't we? So I think there is like certainly, in many cases, a bit of a disconnect between, what's being done and how that's then turning into kind of growth opportunities.
yeah. Yeah, and that disconnect, it's really important to really take a different view of, because sometimes when we think that the perceptions are against us, we feel like things are out of our control. And we know we've covered this. We love to talk about this a lot around, taking back control of what is within your influence. But I definitely think that gap and that thinking about where can we tweak things to get that additional visibility, that additional
Yeah.
buy-in, is something that does need a lot of focus, and
Mm.
to make it relevant as well to the individuals that we work with, because like you say, Donna, we both do this individually in our own businesses, and we've worked with some fantastic clients across so many different industries. That's why
Yeah.
it's also important to take a personalized view of what's going on, because while we have the procurement profession that unites us all in whatever we do to contribute to it, we have to take it back to what's going on for that individual in their context to be able to make the impact that they're looking for.
Yeah. I love you bring in the sectors and the industries actually, because one of the things that I've loved over the last year or so, like, I've spoken about this before, like I've shifted my business from a business where I just supported people one to one to now, now bringing people together. And actually, that's one of my big missions. It's like, actually, how can we bring more amazing procurement professionals together to learn, to connect, to grow together? And, one of the things that's just been so great to see is people really opening up with others that do very similar jobs at similar levels, but in entirely different environments and industries. And actually, it's I think like really looking at those opportunities for collaboration outside of your own kind of bubble and best practice opportunities. Like it's just like it can make such a massive, massive difference actually. Like you talk a lot about silos, don't you? Particularly in relation to like category silos. But I think actually, there are a lot of these industry silos as well. And I think actually, being able to understand what's happening in that big bad world outside of your bubble, like is just it can be really like, yeah, it just can make such a massive difference.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing to highlight, because the amount of times I've sat in a team session and we're talking about different silos, and one team member will say to me, but I can't relate to that. Their stakeholders are different, or they buy different things. Their world
Yeah.
is easier than my world. And actually, what I help them to do is to really sort of strip that back. Let's forget about the technical side, forget about those challenges. Look at the people we're dealing with, look at the way they communicate. Let's look at the way we can get that buy-in in a different way.
Yeah.
And like you say, I think what's really important about what we're both doing there is about seeing the opportunity that exists outside of your immediate sphere, because
Yeah.
sometimes we can categorize ourselves within a certain part of work. So for a procurement professional, it might be I only do public sector, or I only do private sector. When
Yeah.
actually we've seen people navigate that different sectors very, very successfully.
Yeah.
I've got another client as well who has worked in one type of category for a long, long time, has moved into marketing procurement, and they've absolutely done a cracking job in the first 6 months. And then sometimes that little voice will still say, yeah, but you don't know enough about marketing. But it's about the people and how you relate to them. So
Yeah.
just around this gap, like this gap is worth exploring in your own context. And that's where we're talking about the difference that can be made, right?
Yeah. Because actually, I think so many people, it's like when we talk about the gap, it's like, so many people feel they're ready for that next step. they're capable for the next step, but they're not yet seen. They're not positioned for that next step. Like the people that make the decisions about the next step are not seeing it. So it's like actually, just knowing you're ready isn't enough. It's like it's about knowing you're ready. And actually, to be fair, I think there's an argument of making those moves sometimes before you're not ready as well, because
Yeah.
are we ever really ready? And if you are ready, you might have even passed that point. That's a whole nother topic. I think it's like, how can you show that you're ready? It's not just knowing it, but I talk about know and show quite a lot with my clients. And it's like, know it yourself, but how do you then think about how you're showing it to other people?
Yeah, and you mentioned capability there earlier on, and I really want to highlight this because a lot of the time when we perceive that there's a gap, a lot of the time we can think it's a capability issue that
Yeah,
I'm not capable, and that is not the case. Capability is not the issue. Like,
no,
regardless of what category you work in, what industry you work in, whatever level you're at,
yeah,
and we say it a lot, we are not starting from scratch. It's
yeah.
capability is not the focus here. It's around the showing the capability. I like what you said there. What did you say it was? Like,
I
it's not,
said no and
what
know and show. So I talk
know
about
and
that a
show.
lot. It's like actually, it's like a bit like also kind of show and tell. It's like I think people, again, that's another kind of phrase that comes up quite a lot in the conversations. I think people often say they do the things, but they don't show they do the things. And I think you need the combination, don't you? You need the like, actually the actions are mirroring the words, and the
Yes.
evidence is backing up the words as well. So yeah, and this capability thing, like 100% I agree. So, I'm now at a point, so like I've now supported about 70 people in my coaching business. I was looking at the numbers the other day, and might be a few more by the time this goes out because we're recording this in advance. However, it has not at all been about capability. But like you say, sometimes, most of those people have come to me because they're either thinking about a move internally, externally, or maybe they're really active on the market and they're struggling to navigate the market. And, when things don't happen in the way that you expect them to happen, you very quickly kind of your confidence gets knocked. And when your confidence gets knocked, very quickly you start questioning your capability. Am I even relevant in today's world? That's something that comes up a lot, and people are questioning their capability when they have bag loads of capability. Like, as you say, it's never been like, when I look across all of those people, and some of them, weren't struggling. That wasn't why they came to me, but some of them were, some of them had been out of work for a long time. Some of them had been made redundant and then, struggling to ever get interviews or struggling to ever get past first stage interviews. It was never about that capability, but I think it's actually like when your confidence gets knocked, you start questioning it yourself, and when you start questioning it yourself, you're not showing up confidently with your capability, and you're not demonstrating it succinctly, with conviction, I would say, to other people. So I think good point that you've like pulled out there. I think it's important to say, like, none of this is about your capability. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not about capability, but it is about showcasing it.
Yeah, the devil on your shoulder will tell you it's capability every time, that inner voice. And we all have one.
Yeah,
We all
yeah,
have one. It shows up in different ways and different circumstances. But it's not about capability. But I also think it's important to highlight, like you were saying about showing it, because sometimes we assume that when we know we've done something, that other people know we've done it. And then we don't want to, if we think, oh, they already know that, or, I don't want to brag. No,
yeah,
this is around standing in your own capabilities, your own achievements confidently and with conviction.
yeah,
Not necessarily, it's not about being egotistical, it's not about bragging, it's around just saying I'm comfortable in who I am and what I deliver.
yeah,
And again, that's the gap that we both help with, isn't it? That's the gap in
totally.
standing firm in what that capability is, and what that, showcasing the
Yeah,
achievements, because there
yeah.
are many achievements within that client
Oh,
base that we've got. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so I think we wanted to kind of bring a spotlight to this. We have spoken about so many themes, 49 actually, to be
Yeah.
to be exact, I would say. But I think what we are seeing across the people that we work with, and look, many of them are progressing as well. And I think, when they are progressing, often they are being much more intentional and kind of, they are shifting. Like progression is a shift, it's a growth, and they're shifting how they think, how they reflect, how they show up, how they communicate, how they build relationships with people. Actually, if your approach isn't evolving and isn't shifting, the likelihood is the progression is not going to happen. Like it just doesn't happen. Like we're not in a space where that progression just happens automatically anymore. It just isn't enough to be doing that good job, and particularly as well, again, we've touched on it before, our ways of working as a society now are very, very different to how we worked, a decade ago, less than a decade ago. I know a lot of our audience that tune in are senior. A lot of you are in very big, sometimes global roles. Your stakeholders are not sat, in the office with you. Your teams are not sat in the office with you. Your boss is sometimes in a different continent. Like actually our way of working is different. And so, again, kind of hoping it gets seen, the good work you're doing. Like it isn't going to get seen unless you show it. And particularly because the ways of working has evolved. And so therefore your ways of communicating and showing it also needs to evolve, to mirror, your change of level, but also to be impactful in this changing kind of societal way of working as well.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Things are changing. The world around us is changing. And again, referring to a conversation I had this morning around some changes do resolve themselves, some transformations, some, when you think about the way that the world is always changing, some things do change naturally. But this is around feeling in control and less overwhelmed of that. And I think to be able to take the support or the insights that we offer here and to be able to apply that to you, to give yourself that confidence that you need to make that next move, to operate at a new level, is incredibly important in today's world.
And do you know what? And Evan, this wasn't like planned, but what you've just said, like, I just think this is such a good moment to share. We've published 49 episodes so far, and there is a bag load of insight and information in there. And, we are in a world where there is a lot of information out there right now, but it's only when you take action as a result of that information that you start to see change and you start to build momentum. And when you build momentum, you start to build confidence. So I think that's such a great point that you've just made, because we are evolving. Procurement pivots are pivoting. We're not pivoting, but we're growing and we're evolving. And I think, some people love to listen and to digest. And for some people, they're just happy to listen and to take it on board. Some people want to really take action as a result. And that's what we hope for you tuning in. Like, no one's got loads and loads of spare hours. And we hope that these conversations that we're having do enable you to think a bit differently, act a bit differently, consider things differently. And if you don't, then I guess that's on us. Like, that's our intention. We want you to see greater results in your career off the back of taking the time to listen to these episodes. But, we are very aware that a podcast is very one way. It's us two just chatting. There is no interaction. I mean, to be fair, we try and get a bit of interaction, don't we, Laura, on our posts, but we don't. No one likes commenting or liking. We know a lot of you are watching, but we know you don't like commenting and interacting publicly.
we get plenty of messages, don't we? We get the private messages, or I get a WhatsApp, and I got a voice note from someone the other day going, "I've just listened to Laura and Donna for the last 3 hours on my journey, and it was talking about my job." So
Yeah.
we definitely do get the private ones. But anyway, I interrupted you. That was funny.
We do. We get loads of those, and please, like, look, and we say that in jest. We know a lot of you are not, lots of people are not comfortable with sharing this stuff kind of, publicly. But please do let us know privately, because it does help us. But we are really excited because Procurement Pivots is evolving. The podcast is absolutely here to stay, and we are wanting to continue to grow it, to share it with more people, to evolve what it looks like. But we know for some people, like, they do enjoy a bit more interaction and a bit more support, and a bit more kind of I guess support really with actually applying some of these things that we're talking to. So as Laura alluded to at the beginning of this episode, we have an exciting invite for you. And on the 15th of July, which also is our 1 year anniversary of the podcast, so we are going to be hosting our first online Procurement Pivots workshop, which is going to be diving much deeper into this topic, really to help you to think about this gap that does exist between what it is you're doing right now and even what you're doing well and where it is you want to get to next. And so we're going to be hosting, like, not a webinar, it's not going to be one way, it's not going to be just us with a slide deck. Like, it's going to be interactive, it's going to make you stop and think. There'll be opportunities to connect with other people. There'll be opportunities, if you want to share, you can share. But we're really excited because, actually, I think this is going to support some of you, those of you that come, to actually, start to apply some of this stuff that we're talking about. And we've only actually ever done one kind of, I suppose, public appearance off the podcast together, haven't we? We supported the Big Ideas Summit earlier on this year, and so we spoke to their Bravo audience, and so we're really excited about this, and we'd love for you to come along. So if you've been tuning in, if you've enjoyed the episodes, you haven't seen anything yet, I would say. Not that I'm putting too much pressure on it, but we're really excited. We both do a lot of these individually in our own business, but it's brilliant that we get to come together and share this in a way that is, engaging, active, but action based, because it is those actions, it's the actions that build the momentum. It doesn't matter how many episodes you tune into, if you don't do anything different as a result, nothing changes. So this is about, really kind of identifying those gaps for yourself and maybe your team and kind of really then taking those steps that's going to help you to move forward in the direction that you want to move forward in.
Yeah, really, really excited. And like you say, we're so pleased to be on this journey together as well, that we the way that Procurement Pivots is evolving, we're so passionate about bringing this type of support to our procurement community. And this workshop is the next step of that. So please join us. So it's going to be on Wednesday, the 15th of July, and we're going to be holding it at 12 p.m. UK time.
Yes. So, we do appreciate as well that our audience is not just UK based. I think according to the most recent stats, I think the US is our second largest audience, then followed by Australia, I think, in the latest. But we've got listeners all over the world, more than 100 cities, which is incredible. So we hope that some of you from outside of the UK are able to join us as well. So very excited, and thank you for those of you that have shared feedback with us, and for those of you that have, especially for those of you that have done that publicly as well and have recommended the podcast to other people. Like, we're just so incredibly grateful for your support. It means everything, and we want to help people. So if you can help us to help more people, that's great.
Yeah, thanks so much. So we will be putting the link to sign up to this workshop in the show notes of the podcast, also on the YouTube channel, and we will also do it on the Procurement Pivots LinkedIn page as well.
Yes.
So we would love to see you there.
Absolutely. We can't wait. All right, take care. Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Procurement Pivots. We hope today's episode gave you actionable tips to help you to continue to move forward in your procurement career.
If you enjoyed the conversation, follow our episodes, share them with others, and please support us on our social media channels for others that might be interested to tune in.